Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Friday afternoon live stream prior to the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Over the course of the next 2 hours, we're answering any and all fantasy football related questions for our Week 1 lineup, starter sit questions, and of course, talking about a lot of news happening around the National Football League and for our fantasy football teams. News such as Christian McCaffrey, which I see many of questions in the live stream chat already in regards to, which we'll get to him in a moment. But again, over the course of today's live stream, answering questions. If you guys do type in a question in the live stream chat, make sure you include your scoring format. That is incredibly vital to being able to get my answers to you as quickly as I possibly can. For those of you who are trying to claim priority on getting your answers, your questions answered, you can go ahead, send in a super chat, or of course, you can check out many of the different ways in which you can get my rankings, whether it's via Betr, whether it's via the Patreon. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff as we continue on. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully Thursday night's game wasn't too much of a drought upon your week thus far. But again, it's only week 1 and we've only witnessed one game of the 2025 fantasy football season. And there's a lot of games ahead of us this upcoming weekend. We've got a clearer picture as to what the practice reports and the injury reports look like for majority of the teams. Some of the West Coast teams are still in question as we are waiting to receive those reports. But again, I'm sure everybody is wondering, what are my thoughts on Christian McCaffrey? What is his status going into this upcoming weekend? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Should we be firing up Brian Robinson Jr. in his stead, if he in fact is going to miss? All of these questions will be answered. First and foremost, really quickly, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transition the live stream screen to Twitter, okay? For those of you who have an X account, okay? Vic over here is, as you can see, senior writer for The Athletic. He covers the 49ers, okay? Interviewed Christian McCaffrey earlier today, okay, about a 1-minute clip. If you want to travel on over to his Twitter and watch this video, it is very insightful. It's Christian McCaffrey just talking about how he, again, quote unquote, says he feels great. As to whether he really feels great, we'll see. I heard that Adam Schefter earlier today on the Pat McAfee show specifically came out and said there are some potential questions as to whether or not Christian McCaffrey was cramping yesterday, all that kind of jazz. Now, for those of you who are saying, well, Andrew, he was given the DNP designation today, which is did not participate in practice. To which I would tell you, if we head on over to Jeff Mueller's, specific Twitter account, X account, we scroll down here. Obviously, he has this video as well. But then we also have another video and a couple other videos of Mr. McCaffrey running around practice, warming up on his own, doing all these different types of exercises, okay? So there's some stuff out here on the internet to which we're not 100% clear as to what the picture looks like, what his status looks like. If I had to guess right now, and again, this is being just a guess, I would assume that there's a higher likelihood that they hold him out to ensure that he's 100% come week 2, rather than them throwing out Christian McCaffrey. In the event in which he plays, of course, we're firing him up on Sunday, and that's a very easy play to make. But the question then comes into place. Let me just go ahead and pull it up so I have the reference available. Then the question becomes into place that the 49ers play at 1:05 p.m. PST this upcoming Sunday. So you couldn't replace Christian McCaffrey, or you're not going to know his official status until maybe an hour before the 49ers play against the Seahawks in the afternoon slate window of Sunday's games. Therefore, if you had a replacement in any of the morning games, which again, there are 2, 4, 6, 8 morning games, those replacements would have to just kind of sit in limbo. Otherwise, you're going to have to make the decision as to whether you're willing to take the risk of waiting for McCaffrey. Now, for those of you who have McCaffrey and don't have Brian Robinson Jr., well, of course, that is the value of having a handcuff. That is the point of why we want to draft the Charbonnet to our Kenneth Walkers, why we want to draft the backup so that just in case anything goes awry in these circumstances, we have the insurance policy available. Now, with this all covered, in the event in which Brian Robinson Jr. is the starter and McCaffrey does not play this upcoming Sunday, Brian Robinson is easily a top 15 back, if not better this week. Easily. Additionally, on top of that, and that's primarily because, again, Kyle Shanahan specifically likes to utilize one back sets. He never wants to go ahead and get a rotation in there. It hasn't been in many of years in which we have seen a rotation. So, that first and foremost. But if McCaffrey plays, he's in our lineup. As to what we have heard as of late, from McCaffrey, from Shanahan, from the practice videos that I've witnessed, he's moving around today. He didn't participate, but he doesn't technically need to practice on a Friday for him to be ready for a Sunday. Time will tell. All right, with this all covered, let me go ahead and let's get into answering some of your guys' questions. I see a couple that were sent in via Super Chat. Greatly appreciate those. Again, so we begin with Rob P, who says, with Christian McCaffrey news, do I trade Brian Robinson for Golden? I'm not sure I get the question per se. Okay, so like I think it just depends on what you mean by the Christian McCaffrey news. Like if McCaffrey's going to miss any significance of time and you're trying to cash in on Brian Robinson, then sure. But at the same time, there's a possibility that Christian McCaffrey does exactly what he did last year and he disappears for 10 weeks. He goes to Germany and Brian Robinson's an RB1 for that, remainder of time. So I don't think I'm moving a Brian Robinson unless you're someone who, I don't know, just wants to cash in and you don't think that it's much of an issue. Again, I'm not overreacting, but I also don't want to get rid of a piece that could be a league winner when it's all said and done in 2025 if worst case scenario comes to fruition. Nayray sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, thanks for everything, King. Questions down below. All right, Nayray, I see your question. It says the following. It says Jaden Daniels, RJ Harvey, David Montgomery, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Jacoby Myers, McBride, Charbonnet, Rome, Caleb Williams, trade Montgomery, and a 2026 first round pick for A.J. Brown and Kenneth Walker. Yes, please. Thank you. Listen, I think in this circumstance, it gets you one step closer to capturing a 2025 fantasy football championship. That is the kind of move that you would, need necessarily to be able to kind of step forward and make a trade of that caliber and get yourself into that championship conversation. Again, your team is really strong as of right now. So adding pieces of that caliber, I think, takes you over the top. And when you already have Charbonnet on roster, the investment of being able to get a K9 and then also buying low on the A.J. Brown upside, I think is very, very enticing. So yeah, I don't mind that deal at all in my mind as you're trying to capture, a championship this season. Thank you. All righty, let's scroll back down here. We had a question from Andy who says, we're so back. A question down below. When you say we're so back, do we mean we're so back? We're already stressing about injuries in week 1 because that's exactly what's taking place. Very unfortunate, but it is what it is. He says the following. My team is Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, Alvin Kamara, George Pickens, Tyreek Hill, Brock Bowers, David Njoku at my flex. My bench consists of Harvey, Pearsall, Jaylen Warren, Michael Pittman Jr., Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen in a full PPR. More. Would you trade Bijan Robinson and Tyreek Hill for Jonathan Taylor and Malik Neighbors? You know what's another interesting thing? Malik Neighbors didn't practice today, guys. So keep an eye on Malik Neighbors there just for a second, if you will. That's another player that when I headed on over to their to the injury report for the Giants, as it currently stands via their official website, Andrew Thomas is designated as doubtful, and Malik Neighbors with no designation of practices on Friday. So it actually says DNP, did not practice. He doesn't have a game status designation, so it's not like an unspecified questionable. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm not sure really what the deal is there. Maybe that's a mistake on their half. We'll have to keep an eye on that going into this upcoming Sunday. But in terms of like the value of the trade as a whole, yes, I would rather probably have the Jonathan Taylor Neighbors side. But again, it's very contingent on what the deal with Neighbors is. Once we get clarity on that, I think it'll give us a little bit more insight as to whether we can take a trade like that. But once you make a deal like that, your team is going to be stacked for the remainder of the year, as you've got incredible bench depth besides the studs you have in your starting lineup. Thank you. Okay, really quickly. Again, we're going to be here for the next hour 45, hour 55, answering questions prior to the Kansas City Chiefs taking on, of course, the one and only Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Should be a fun game. As you guys remember last year when we specifically saw the Eagles take on the Green Bay Packers, it's going to be a grass field. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be slippery. Expect for a little bit of a disaster. In a little bit, probably I'd say 15 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and put a play together in regards to Betr. My favorite play of the day in regards to some Travis Kelce numbers, Xavier Worthy, and of course, Lad McConkey. So for those of you who are going to ask regarding that, that'll be in about 15 minutes from now. Again, if you guys want to get my Sunday morning rankings for the remainder of the season, again, you can find that via Betr using code Andrew, making that first-time deposit minimum of 10, and then making that first-time play minimum of $1 where you pick 2 different players, pick more or less on the given statistics, and you're ready to go. And of course, like I mentioned, over the course of this entire week, new users who sign up get a free $10 immediately. So all you have to do is sign up using code Andrew today. You can get that. But if you want the rankings, got to follow the instructions here to my left. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see here. Sprinkles276 sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, do I flex DJ Moore, Ricky Pearsall, Garrett Wilson, or Aaron Jones? Okay, looking at my current rankings on Patreon, this is how I currently have it structured for the following players. My number one ranked of that group would be DJ Moore. That's the way that I'm currently trending. In the event in which McCaffrey was to miss this upcoming Sunday, I might play Pearsall ahead of him, but there's a high unlikelihood of that even being the case. So for right now, DJ Moore is going to be my suggestion of the available options that you have. The rest of your team consists of Bijan, Henry, JSN, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, you're good to go there. I think DJ Moore is the correct play to add alongside of those 4 other players there, Sprinkles. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alrighty, we continue on. After Sprinkles' question, we have Noller, who says, in my 12-team full PPR, Pearsall versus Jaylen Warren versus Khalil Shakir. I think that's a great question. I'm going to check where I have Warren in comparison to Pearsall, and I will give you that designation in just a moment here. Let me look up Warren. Jaylen Warren, I currently have slightly behind Ricky Pearsall. So it would go Pearsall, Warren, Shakir in that exact order. That's how I currently have it structured. And that's how I'll continue to abide by going into this upcoming Sunday. If anything changes between now and then, again, my Patreon rankings will reflect that, and the better rankings that I send out from my email directly to yours will, of course, also include that designation of change. But as of right now, I feel pretty comfortable with the idea of playing Pearsall there in a full PPR format. Jaylen Warren, I think, is very justifiable as well. They are only 5 ranks separating the two of them. So I could justify the idea of playing Warren there because we're expecting him to be the lead back. But again, there's always a possibility that Caleb Johnson could come in, steal his touchdown, steal some workload. I kind of want to see what the opportunity share is going to look like out of that backfield before I play him over someone like Pearsall this week. Thank you. Go Bill sends in a question, says, flex Myers, Sutton, Metcalf, or Aaron Jones? All right, great question. I think I'm just going to play Sutton there. I want to play my studs. I want to play the players that I drafted to kind of get in the mix. We know that L'Jarius Sneed, currently questionable, has been limited in practice all week long. We know that Christian Gonzalez, the number 1 cornerback of the New England Patriots, who will primarily would have been covering Jacoby Myers this week, is not going to be playing this week as he is out and designated out. Metcalf has a tough matchup against Sauce Gardner and the boys. Aaron Jones, again, is going to be splitting a little bit of his opportunity share with Jordan Mason. So I think it's really just between Sutton and Myers. At that point, I'm just going to lean towards Sutton. Thank you very much, Go Bills. Appreciate it. Giovanni sends in a question. Thank you very much, Giovanni. I don't see anything attached to your immediate question or super real quick, so I'm going to scroll down below, Giovanni. I don't really see anything. Maybe you typed something in beforehand. Currently don't see it. If you can do me a favor and just type that question into the live chat so I can answer that, that'd be appreciated. Thank you. All right, where are we at here? Someone said, do I drop Cup for Brian Robinson? Absolutely, Corn. You got to at this point. That seems like just you got to get that done. Just in case, you never know. Pittman or Swift in a PPR? As of right now, I'm going to play Swift there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Joe. And again, to add on top of that, again, there's a development in regards to the backfield for the Chicago Bears as the days have gone on. Roschon Johnson, this is 2 consecutive days now, Thursday and Friday. He has not participated in practice. Kyle Monangai for each of the last 2 days, also still limited with a hamstring injury. I, in fact, saw a clip from yesterday's practice for the Chicago Bears in which the only running back participating in the drills was Swift. They had to have, so just putting it out there, there's a lot of potential for opportunity for Swift this week in the absence and or limitations that Monangai and or Roschon Johnson are going to have. So Swift is looking better and better as the week progresses, as we get closer to that Monday game. Griffin Bell sends in a question, says, Pacheco or Trevion Henderson in a standard scoring format? Mahomes is my quarterback. I'm playing Pacheco there. If I'm looking for the yardage and specifically the touchdown potential for upside, I would lean towards Pacheco there this week. I think Trevion Henderson is great, but I think his value remains as a receiving back early while we still try to sift between whether or not him and or Ramondre is going to be the clear number 1 and whether it's going to be a committee of sorts. So for now, I would lean in the direction of Pacheco, who's been healthy, has looked far better this offseason in comparison to when he returned last year after the fibula, the fibula injury that obviously derailed his entire year. I'm playing, Pacheco in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, Trife sends in a question. Says trade question in the comment. Thank you, sir. No problem. Glad to help. He says trade Bucky Irving and Kittle for Bowers and Kamara in a PPR. My other guy, okay, interesting question. Very interesting question. Personally, I think it's a relatively even trade in a PPR format. In fact, I would even venture to say that the Bowers Kamara side could have more credence of value based on what Kamara has put forth year over year. You guys know I'm a Kamara guy. I understand that, again, he'll miss 1 to 2 games, but, so will Kittle. There's always the possibility of a couple games being missed here and there. I actually do not mind that trade. I think it's relatively even across the board in a full PPR format because of the circumstance. The remaining comment that you said is the other guy is a big Bucky fan. I'm willing to overpay for him. Other guys, oh, I see. So you want the Bucky side. Interesting. If you want the Bucky side, again, I think it's a relatively even trade, but I actually like the Bowers side of this deal because of the volume of receptions that Bowers is implicated for, along with Kamara in a full PPR format. Let's see here. Okay, Giovanni had sent in a follow-up super with the attached message. Got it. Says, do I drop anything for Isaac Guerrero, Jaden Blue, Dylan Sampson, or Bayshal Tootin? As of right now, again, if we were to see, theoretically, Christian McCaffrey miss this week, I would venture to say that Brian Robinson Jr. gets the vast majority, maybe 80% of the workload. Again, we have very seldom seen a rotation within this backfield. If we travel back to 2024, from weeks 1 through 4, while Jordan Mason was healthy, he was dominating with 24 opportunities per game on average. So if we're going to see McCaffrey miss any semblance of time, then objectively, I would say that Brian Robinson is going to be the guy that we want to trust. Now, if he's going to miss a significant volume of time, then at that point, we can make the designation of picking up a Guerrero. If you want to pick up Guerrero preemptively, you can, but I don't know if I'm making the move just yet. I like the idea of keeping Tootin and Sampson and seeing what they can work with. Jaden Blue's a little bit of an outlier in this circumstance because of the healthy scratch yesterday. So if you wanted to take that gamble, you certainly could. But I think Jaden Blue is still something that later in the season could be of value. But in the short term, I guess Guerrero, if you're looking for a lottery ticket, could be of some use. But again, I don't expect him to play, so I'm not really touching him just yet. All right, Eric Nixon sends in a question. Eric, thank you very much, sir. Says in a full PPR, check my lineup. We have Burrow. We have Henry, Swift, A.J. Brown, London, Jacoby Myers, Laporta, Shakir, Rams, and my bench consists of Roshan Johnson, Cedric Tillman, Bigsby, Kincaid, and the Ravens. Okay, so I do prefer the Rams over the Ravens this week, so you're great there. I think Shakir is a fantastic flex with the 3 wide receivers being A.J. Brown, Myers, and London, Laporta, Swift, Henry. Yeah, I mean, there's no changes to be made. Solid-looking team. Obviously, A.J. Brown did leave you out with an unfortunate performance yesterday, but again, that's just one singular week. We're not going to go ahead and dictate the rest of his season based on one performance, right? So as of right now, solid looking team. Keep it as such for week 1 in your lineup. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Michael Schmidt has sent in a question. Michael says, I traded Lab McConkey and Zay Flowers for Jackson Smith and Jigba and Rome Odunze. Do I start in Jigba or Odunze? You have to start in Jigba. Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, it's just not even close at that point. Njigba is clear in a way the better of the two, considering he is the clear number 1. Until we can get an idea as to what a Ben Johnson offense looks like after Monday's game against the Vikings, then we'll have a better understanding as to what Odunze's role is, his opportunity share, etc. And then we can kind of move forward there. Otherwise, Njigba is the correct play within this week. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Young Money who says, I have the Eagles defense. Do I drop Jaden Higgins for the Bills or Packers defense? You're not dropping Jaden Higgins. Again, as of the most recent information that we have been privy to via the injury reports of the Houston Texans, and I will go ahead and convey this right now. Let's see here. Where's Christian Kirk? Christian Kirk. Perfect. Pulling it up from 1 hour ago via the Texans wire. Let's see what the deal is. So as of right now, Christian Kirk has been designated out for week 1. He is not playing. He is dealing with a hamstring strain. As we know, a hamstring could take up to 2 to 3 weeks to recover from. In his absence, I think the rookie receivers Noel and, of course, Higgins could certainly be implicated for a greater role as the upcoming matchups for the Houston Texans and, of course, their offensive line, their running back depth implies that they should be throwing a bunch. I'm not interested in losing Higgins right now. If you were going to theoretically pick up the Bills or the Packers, I'm looking forward to week 2 of the NFL season, to which I would try to play a matchup there. The Packers would be taking on the Commanders on Thursday Night Football in week 2, so I'm not too interested in that. But the Bills would be taking on the Jets. So again, I don't mind taking the Bills there for week 2, but I'm not dropping Jaden Higgins to accomplish that. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Jade. Jade, thank you very much. Jade's question was, in a PPR, do I flex J.K. Dobbins or Josh Downs? That's a great question. Let me just go ahead and let me see where I have Josh Downs in comparison to him, and I'll give you my answer right away. Looking at where I have Josh Downs as it currently stands, I do have Josh Downs ranked higher than J.K. Dobbins. I do expect R.J. Harvey to get the vast majority or the bulk majority of the workload out of this backfield. But when we compare those two in a full PPR format, Josh Downs is my preferred. Thank you. Again, Josh Downs has just been such a vital part of the offense. And for Daniel Jones, I think him and Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, they're going to function out as the security blanket to where when the pass rush gets a little bit too hot and Daniel Jones isn't trying to air it out, not trying to make any mistakes, trying to let the run game really dictate the future of his career and allow him to get into positions, I think dumping it off to the talent of those two, receiving options that are not going to be too far down the field, his checkdowns per se of Downs and Warren, I think that's going to be a lot of the value of this offense. We got to remember last season from weeks 1 through 9 or 10, when Daniel Jones was still the starter for the New York Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, the slot receiving option, was averaging 8.4 targets per game. There's a lot of opportunity for Josh Downs to be immediately relevant, especially in a full PPR. Thank you, Jade. Appreciate it. Crooked Soul sends in a question. Thank you, Crooked. Says in a full PPR, K9, Ridley, or Tetaroa McMillan. I'm leaning K9 or Tet. Yeah, I'm in the same page as you. As to who between the two of them, let me see. I have Tetaroa McMillan as my number 33. I have Kenneth Walker as my number 40. So Tet McMillan will be my preferred considering the full PPR scoring format as such and the matchup against that Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. Thank you. Jimbo Fisher sends in a question. Says Pacheco/Ford. PP. Okay, so if I'm picking one or the other, let's see. Where do we have them accordingly? As it stands, I have Pacheco 2 spots ahead of Jerome Ford for this week. Again, they're relatively closely ranked, but I do like Pacheco in this circumstance. Because I do expect, Dylan Sampson to get a good workload share alongside of Jerome Ford as they kind of, are a 1A, 1B combo. As for your follow-up question, Justin Fields or Bryce Young in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I would rather play Bryce Young there, legitimately. Thank you. Appreciate it. Robert Jameson sends in a question, says, what's your thoughts on Carter spitting on Dak? I think it's legitimately, okay, here's the thing. It's completely irrelevant to fantasy football. I think it's probably some of the most poor sportsmanship I've seen in quite some time. And that's basically it. I think the ejection is proper, especially considering he was dumb enough to do it in front of the ref. If you're going to do it, just don't do it in front of the ref. Like, come on, man. Just play football. You don't have to, I don't know, man. It's below his, the standard of the National Football. The Shield stands for more than that. So let's not spit on our opponents before the game starts, huh? All right, let's see here. Velez 408 sends in a question. Says Kraft or Jaden Higgins at Ford? Kraft or Jaden Higgins at Ford? What does at Ford mean? Velez, if you can do me a favor and just give me at flex, you got auto-corrected, brother. That's what it is. Understood. Let me see where I have Kraft in comparison to Higgins, and I'll tell you right now. You know what it is, though? I'd have to move up Jaden Higgins a pretty considerable amount now that we have the designation of Christian Kirk out. I would probably, considering it's week 1, I'd still play Tucker Kraft there, but Higgins is somebody that I would consider it. I think it would be a very high consideration, but I think I'm still going to stick with Kraft in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, I do see a couple more questions that were sent in. Before I do so, like I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put together a couple plays via Betr. I said about 15 minutes from there, and it's been about 15 minutes, so I want to go ahead and do exactly just that, put together, share some plays in which I've gone ahead and scooped out in the last couple hours here that I feel relatively comfortable sharing in regards to plays that I went ahead and put together. So let's go ahead. I'm going to travel on over to Betr here. Again, going into this week, or specifically going into tonight's game, because again, I will share more plays as we get to Saturday, and additionally, I will share more plays once we get to Sunday morning. But in regards to the game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. When we specifically look at these players within this game, let's go ahead and click that off. Okay, so a couple of the plays that I really do like are in regards and revolve around Travis Kelce, Ladd McConkey, and Xavier Worthy. And I'll tell you exactly why I am in kind of preference to these players. So first and foremost, let's talk about where is Ladd McConkey. Okay, so here's the deal with Ladd McConkey. I really do like 4.5 receptions, and I'll tell you exactly why. I mentioned this a couple days ago in regards to my wide receiver rankings video. Ladd McConkey has been able to go he's been able to go more than 4.5 receptions in 8 of the last 8 games in which he has played. Additionally, he's gone more than 83 receiving yards in 7 of the last 8 games. Additionally, when you tack on top of that the first time around against the Los Angeles Chargers in week 4 of the 2024 season, 7 targets, 5 grabs, 67 and a touchdown, has put together a good performance against that defense. But in week 14, when Ladd McConkey was out due to injury, Josh Palmer played the slot receiving role. And within that slot receiving role in week 14 against the Kansas City Chiefs, had 8 targets from the slot that led to 6 receptions, 78 receiving yards. So regardless of who's playing the slot position, what Greg Roman in this offense and Justin Herbert are going to be able to do is facilitate opportunities in the direction of Ladd McConkey, their number 1 receiving option. So absolutely, without a doubt in my mind, I really do like the idea of taking more on that 4.5 receptions. Now, when we continue on and potentially go look at other players, Travis Kelce's next on the list at a 4.5 reception play. Primarily because in the same vein in which we just talked about Ladd McConkey and his consistency to find production, over the course of the last 13 regular season games, Travis Kelce has gone more than 4.5 receptions. And I specifically talk about those last 13 games is because those are the games that he has played without Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, prior to his injury in 2024, completely stole away majority of the value from Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, who again, they've touted about how he's been in incredible shape this offseason. He's going to look a lot better. And we're anticipating that. Therefore, a player that in 10 of the last 13 games has gotten more than 4.5 receptions, very comfortable with that. In the last 2 games against the Chargers in 2024, 7 receptions for 89, 5 receptions for 45. Been able to surpass that in both those games. In fact, hasn't had a game of less than 5 receptions against the Los Angeles Chargers since 2019. So I'd anticipate a lot of opportunity. And of course, as the number 1 receiving option of Patrick Mahomes this week, I would assume that he is going to look in the direction of his number 1 option. So again, we go more on that 4.5. Now, the only other play that I would really like to just kind of speak on is Xavier Worthy. Now, this can be any of the potential 2 plays because he's been able to accomplish these numbers in each of the last 10 games he has participated in. So 10 of the last 10 at 100% success rate, Xavier Worthy has gone more than 39.5 receiving yards and more than 3.5 receptions. Therefore, if we travel on over to Betr and we specifically look at 3.5 receptions or 39.5 receiving yards, either of the 2 work. Now, in this specific case, when I went ahead, where the heck is there? It is. Okay. When I went ahead and I put together an entry, I didn't even put in, I have entries for this. I have my Travis Kelce, I have my Ladd McConkey entry in terms of the play, but not yet have I put together one with Xavier Worthy. Those are the 3 that I'm most comfortable with. Again, I will refer back to these over the course of today's episode because I'm sure everybody's going to come in, ask Andrew which plays, blah, blah, So once that goes ahead and we get closer to kickoff, I'll put that in. Just wanted to share that with you guys in regards to those of you that I did see in the live chat asking about which direction we're going for today's plays. Thank you very much. Again, Marcel was saying any better plays besides the ones you dropped in this video, in the videos. Yeah, so that would be some extra ones. But then tomorrow and the next day, we'll continue to develop on more plays going into this week. Like I mentioned, again, besides being able to, potentially make those plays on your own, maybe make other plays going into these upcoming matchups via Betr. When you use code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of 10 and make that first time play minimum of 1. You can get my, obviously, rankings every single Sunday morning sent from my email directly to yours. These are by position, by tier, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, and flex for half and full PPR rankings. But not only that, again, you can always take advantage of the free play of Patrick Mahomes, put it together with the players that I just mentioned before. Obviously, like I've mentioned before, you get a free $10 when you sign up via Betr. So there's a lot of opportunities to take advantage of this and get an extra little excitement for this upcoming game. as we as we see the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Los Angeles Chargers. I was going to say as we take on the Kansas City Chiefs, but that's a little bit of my Chargers bias bleeding in there. Okay, now that I've caught up on that, hopefully, for those of you who were asking specifically about which plays we're going with, that answers your question. Thank you. All right, continuing on, Noller sends in a question. Says quarterback is Josh Allen, Michael Penix. Running backs are Swift, Kamara, Warren, and we have Brian Robinson, Woody, Marks, Blue. Okay. Wide receivers are Chase, Ladd, Pearsall, Shakir, Wanda Robinson, Strange, Love, Lind. Okay, very well. Should I like my team? Any recommendations? Any deals? Should you like your team? I don't like the idea of having a second quarterback unless it's a super flex. So Penix is off my roster and I'm going to pick up somebody else. I would also probably feel relatively comfortable with the idea of looking for another, lottery ticket running back, if not wide receiver. Otherwise, everything else is pretty solid. Tight end is really a question mark at this point. Your studs are okay, but I don't love the team. I'll tell you that much outright. I think going Jamar Chase, Ladd McConkey, and then going Josh Allen for your first 3 picks really did hurt your running back depth. You really have to hope that Swift is going to be a significant uptick of production this season compared to where he's being drafted, and Warren is going to be able to also provide value beyond that. I think prioritizing a little bit of running back value in the earlier round would probably bode well. But in a full PPR, I could understand why you would go Chase, Ladd, and Allen. I could get it, but as of right now, again, a lot of the pressure of your team is on the shoulders of Kamara and Swift being able to at least do their jobs at a very high rate, at a healthy rate for the remainder of the season. Nacho's Gone sends in a question. Says Debo, Stevenson, Dobbins, Jennings. Who do I start? As of right now, I'm probably leaning towards playing, especially in a full PPR scoring format. Let me see where I have Jennings in comparison to Debo Samuel. I have Jawan Jennings ranked higher in a full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I'm very comfortable going Debo there. But I would play both of them over both of those running backs as of this week. Thank you, Nacho. CJ Rich, Boxing, says, DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery. I'm playing DeAndre Swift there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, he doesn't have to have the worry of another running back stealing a carry on the goal line in comparison to, of course, David Montgomery having to fight for those opportunities every single week for the remainder of the season, as we have seen with that offense. Daniel Barnes sends in a question. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Says PPR flex, Metcalf, Pacheco, Jalen Warren, or Pearsall. Out of that group of players, I'm probably leaning towards, I'm not just leaning. I'm playing Pearsall. Pearsall number 1, Warren 2, Pacheco 3, Metcalf 4. That's probably the way in which I go about it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Daniel. Okay, we had a question that came in from BVN Woody, who says, Matthew Golden, Aaron Jones. Oh, my YouTube just crashed. Let me go ahead and close that. Let me reopen the live stream chat there. My apologies. Not sure why that crashed, but it's no problem at all. I'll just go ahead and let's move this here. Go to the live chat. There it is. Perfect. Okay. Catching up on some of these questions. So we had a question from Daniel Barnes. Again, we're playing Pearsall. BVN Woody says Matthew Golden, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, or Jaden Higgins in the flex in a full PPR. Of those available, it's either Matthew Golden or it's Eckler. Actually, it might even be Aaron Jones. Let me see where I have Golden in comparison to them. All right. So considering I have Matthew Golden there, he is ahead of Aaron Jones. He is ahead of Austin Eckler. He is ahead of Jaden Higgins. So I'm going to play Matthew Golden there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Shane sends in a question. Says Pacheco, Harvey, Sutton. Pick one. Pacheco, Harvey, Sutton. Yeah, I'm going to play Sutton there, especially if it's a full PPR. Goff or Purdy, I would prefer to play Purdy there. Thank you. Steven sends in a question. Says, flex position, PPR, Diggs or Pacheco? That's a really good question. The thing is, I don't know how much of Stephon Diggs we're going to see this week in terms of if he is going to be on a snap count because of the return of the ACL. If he's only going to play, 60% or run only 60% of the routes, maybe they don't want him out there running as many routes just to kind of ramp him up. As of right now, the way I have it in a full PPR, I am playing Pacheco this week. Thank you. Sip sends in a question. Says, Andrew question in the chat. Dobbins is my other back wide receiver strong. Okay, let me see if I can find. I'm going to write your name down, Sip, and then I will go and I will check the chat to see if your question's there. Likelihood is your question is most likely not there because it's been a while since you sent that in. So if you can retype that question in, that'd be greatly appreciated. Easy E says, grade my team is in the chat. Easy, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing as yesterday and just give me a second. Maybe retype that into the live chat so that I can find it. Thank you. Colin Smith says full PPR, Jennings or Warren. I would rather play Warren, assuming Warren is Jalen. Thank you. Jesse G sends in a question. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. It says half PPR. I need one between Pearsall, Pittman, Diggs, and Troy Franklin. I'm going to play Pearsall there. Thank you. Matthew Zhang sends in a question. Says, if Christian McCaffrey is out in a PPR, do I flex Pearsall, Brian Robinson Jr., DK Metcalf, or Travion Henderson? In the event in which Christian McCaffrey is out, I'm playing Brian Robinson this week. Thank you. Out of those available options. Chubbs McGee sends in a question. Nothing attached to it. Chubbs, you're going to have to type your question in the live chat. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get to it. Appreciate it. Hopefully, that is something you can retype in or copy paste. Appreciate it. Adrian Acosta says, hey, Andrew, can you rate my 12-team league PPR squad? We have Mayfield and Bo Nix. Not really sure you needed both, but hopefully you'll be able to trade one in the coming weeks after some solid performances here in week 1. You have Bijan, Chase Brown, Achane. Beautiful. Love the running backs. In a full PPR, that is a disgusting trio of running backs that, again, is going to carry you. Sutton, McMillan, Devontae Smith, and Kincaid. So I see where the discount was made. Looking at your team, I think it's very solid. I think utilizing either Mayfield or Bo Nix as a trade piece in the coming weeks to improve tight end and or get some additional wide receiver help, I think is something of importance. Otherwise, running back and picking one of, Mayfield or Nix for the remainder of the season are solidified. Sutton, McMillan solidified. It's just now a matter of, can we improve that tight end position? That's it. The waiver wire is going to provide potentially some options there, or maybe Kincaid's the guy. And I'm just overreacting as to what his value is on paper. But from what we have seen over the course of the last 2 seasons, averaging about 5.7, 5.8 targets per game, not the greatest number for Kincaid. If that number jumps to like 7.5 this season, I think we'd be in a far more advantageous position, especially in a full PPR, for him to be a weekly start to where I don't even have to blink and you don't have to make any trades. But this week, and of course the Sunday night game against the Ravens, will be very insightful for us. Powerhouse sends in a question. Thank you, Powerhouse. Says, in a half PPR Superflex league, my team consists of the quarterbacks of Jaden Daniel, Lamar Jackson. Running backs are Marion Hampton and Travion Henderson. Wide receivers are Pickens and Sutton. Tight end is my Warren, and Egbuka is my flex. Thoughts? Yeah, I think your quarterbacks have to carry you every single week because the rest of your team is discounted because of the importance and, of course, the draft capital utilization on quarterback. Daniels and Lamar have to each put up 22 to 25 points a week, which again, they're going to, but they have to do that in order to kind of balance out your team, because having Pickens as your wide receiver 1/2, not exciting. Your running backs, I think, are solid, but just this week, again, being their first week, having a little bit of a tougher matchup for Hampton isn't as exciting, but Warren's solid, Egbuka's solid, Sutton is solid. So yeah, we're just going to wait and we'll see what Pickens can provide in the future. Outside of a couple, defensive pass interferences, there was a possibility in which Pickens could have had a big week last night within his efforts. Quincy Jones, speaking of efforts, man, there was a lot of plays there when I watched that game back where he's not blocking a single effing soul. Just putting it out there. Anyway, Quincy says, start Pollard or Hampton in a PPR. I would rather start Tony Pollard this week. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go back to the live chat. I do see that's a couple of you sent in follow-up questions in regards to the super chats. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Easy E, I found your question in the chat. Thank you very much for typing that in. It says, in a Superflex standard 3 wide receiver league. Oh, man, you typed a lot here. What do we have here? Nix, Trevor Lawrence, Bijan, JJ, okay. BTJ, JSN. You have Bijan, Josh Jacobs, BTJ, JSN, McMillan, and Trevor and Bo Nix. Wow. Okay. Really solid looking team there. So in regards to sheesh, that is what a team, huh? As of right now, looking at the squad, I mean, the way that I'm going, let's see, where are we going about this? I mean, Bo Nix has to play. Bijan, Josh Jacobs are your starters. BTJ starts. JSN starts. McMillan starts. Kincaid's your best tight end. You're good to go. I mean, I think this team is stacked. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a 3 wide receiver league as well. Yeah, so then in that case, your flex this week would then be between Olave, Jennings, Ridley, Pacheco, Gordon. In a standard league where you're getting 0 points per reception, your flex ends up being Pacheco or Brian Robinson. But considering we can't wait, I'm just playing Pacheco there. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead. Let me see if Sip had typed in his question in the chat. Sip, where you at? Sip says, hey, Andrew, glad you're back. I have McCaffrey. Okay. Should I drop Caleb Johnson or Jamison Williams for Robinson? At this point, I think you probably are in a better position to drop Caleb Johnson. Jamison Williams has too much value in my mind in comparison to Caleb Johnson. I think if you're trying to ensure your investment and that's the worst player on your bench, then yeah, I'm dropping him for the case of having the insurance so that my number one overall pick is not out for the year. Thank you. All right, Troobs McGee sends in his question. Says, hey, Andrew, in a 12-team full PPR super flex format, I have Herbert and Tetero McMillan. In international games, always tricky. You're asking if I should start if you should start Herbert or McMillan in a super flex format. I'm starting Herbert. Again, this is the way that I function. In very little circumstances am I ever going to play a individual running back, wide receiver, or tight end over the quarterback, especially if the quarterback is of the caliber of a Justin Herbert. So I would play Herbert in this circumstance. Worst case scenario, he puts up 15 points. Best case scenario, he puts up 25. I think McMillan could very much so exist in that range, but I also think that like best case scenario for McMillan, I don't know if he can get, I mean, he could technically get to a 25, but you know, week one for rookie season, I think that's a little bit too hopeful. I would just play the quarterback there. Thank you. Alrighty, just getting back to some of these questions that were sent in. Again, for those of you guys who want to just try to get my rankings so you don't have to ask questions on a consistent enough basis here on these live streams so you can get the answer and get on your way. Of course, I know your guys' time is incredibly valuable and there's only one of me and many of you. Again, besides getting the Sunday morning rankings via the Betr sign up and all that information down below, you can always check out the Patreon. The rankings were posted yesterday afternoon in regards to my week one rankings. I post rankings twice a week from weeks 1 through 18. When you sign up with the 2025 Fantasy Football Champion tier, not only will you get those Thursday and, of course, Sunday rankings posted for half PPR, full PPR, all-encompassing rankings, you'll also get exclusive Patreon Discord server community access, and you'll be able to ask all these questions that you may have over the course of the week, whether it's a waiver wire trade question, directly to me within the Patreon messenger system, or, of course, once you add me on Discord, you can shoot me a message, all that kind of jazz. Again, there's more information regarding that for those of you who want to get that access available today. Thank you very much for all the support. All right, we continue on. After we took care of Quincy Jones, who again, we are playing Pollard there. Keith Allen, who said, you ranked my team at the tail end of the last night's stream. Didn't get a chance to thank you. No problem, man. My league was pissed that I took all of their guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you're in a pretty solid position to begin with, Keith. As we proceed, again, I think we're only going to improve the team week over week. Right, that's the entire point of the marathon of fantasy football. As the weeks go on, we're not just trying to solidify the squad that we have. I mean, again, if your team is just stacked with studs and everybody's playing beyond their means, fantastic. But every week, once we hit the waiver wire, we're going to improve the team. We're going to look for trades. We're going to look for opportunities to improve it at every potential corner. So I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully we can continue to get you in the right direction so we can capture a championship here. Thank you. Hassan sends in a question, says, Olave on the waiver just now, how much fab is he worth? It depends on what kind of a league you play in. It depends on scoring format. It depends on how many teams are in your league. It depends on how many bench spots you have available. And additionally, it depends on what your wide receiver depth looks like. Now, arguably, he should have been drafted. He should have been kept. If you're playing in a 12-team league, me personally, if I have the available bench spot, let's say, for example, I am playing in a league in which I have someone of the caliber of Wan'Dale Robinson on my bench. And I'm like, man, I think Olave is a pretty significant upgrade there in a half PPR. I am willing to probably put in a 25%er. Now, if Olave didn't have concussion problems, I'd feel good about that. But considering his injury risk that is implied, I'm more in the line of sitting towards like a 18% kind of bid. Like an 18 out of the 100. That's where I'm at. Because I don't feel great about Olave. Because at any given moment, he goes down with a concussion, they're going to call it a career for him, man. Like, legitimately, he has ate so many concussions in his career, going even back to Ohio State, that it is legitimately scary. So, as of right now, 18% max is kind of where I'm leaning towards. Richie Lou sends in a question. Thank you very much, Richie. Let me see if I can find it in the live chat. I don't really see anything attached to your original question. Let's see here. Richie Lou says, in a 12-team full PPR league, do I start Kupp, Rome Odunze, or Pacheco? In a full PPR, let me see where I have Odunze comparatively to Pacheco, and I'll let you know right now. As it currently stands, I have Rome Odunze ranked higher in a full PPR. Had it been a half PPR, I'd go with Pacheco there. Thank you. As your follow-up says, I'm thinking of going Rome. Okay, perfect. Already starting DJ Moore and Caleb Williams. Okay, well, at that point, maybe we're a little bit too involved into the Bears. Oh, man, that's a little bit tough. So, as of right now, I'm probably leaning in the direction of, yeah, as to how I have it ranked based on my projections model, I'm leaning towards playing Rome Odunze there. That's just how I'm going to deal with that. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Richie. C. Miles sends in a question, says, was offered Christian McCaffrey for Henderson and DK Metcalf. Do you have Brian Robinson Jr. on your team? If you don't have Brian Robinson, not really worth trading for Christian McCaffrey at the moment until we get a clearer picture. Again, like I mentioned earlier, and the links on Twitter that I shared earlier on in the stream, it does give me a little bit of confidence in terms of the potential of him playing this season and it not being as significant as originally expected, which again, fingers crossed, it's not as significant. But as we continue on, I'm leaning to believe that he'll be fine. But I don't want to make any, swift decisions here. I would say just hold what you have. Thank you. Paul sends in a question. Thank you very much, Paul. Says, in a half PPR, Egbuka or Waddle in the flex? I would rather play Egbuka there. Egbuka as of right now in a half PPR in comparison to Waddle. Again, I'm going to adjust Waddle's ranking just slightly. He'll go up in my ranking in comparison to where he was on Thursday, primarily because of Darren Waller being designated out, which I think is an incredible boost for his upside against the Indianapolis Colts. But as it currently stands, Emeka Egbuka is my number 24 wide receiver, and Jalen Waddle will most likely end up being my number 31 wide receiver, maybe 30 this week. So I think Egbuka still has himself a very vast advantage in comparison within the matchup. And of course, how much we know that Baker Mayfield loves to target the slot receiving options, having targeted slot receivers last season, 32% of his total passing attempts. Thank you. Crypt Keeper sends in a question, says, in a 2 PPR, 2 quarterback, 12-team league, McMillan or DJ Moore? I would rather play Teteroa McMillan. Thank you, Crypt. I appreciate it. LS sends in a question, says, in a half PPR league, Kamara, McMillan, or Pearsall? It's Kamara all the way. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Miguel Diaz, who says, Jared Goff or Caleb Williams? I would prefer to play Caleb Williams there. Again, I don't believe that the importance of an offensive coordinator in the form of Ben Johnson has been designated or at least spoken about enough. I think the offense for the Lions is going to look different. Do they have a lot of talent? Yes, but I think Caleb Williams is the better fantasy play this week. It's not a matter of who's going to play better as a whole, but who's going to be more fantasy relevant. And in this case, I think it's going to be Caleb Williams. Thank you, Miguel. Brian Colorado sent in a question. Brian, thank you very much. Brian, where is your question, though? I don't really see it immediately on screen. You may have to... Let's see. Let me type it in here. Colorado. Yeah, Brian, you're going to have to type that question in again because it just didn't get attached. Appreciate it, man. Donald Smith says... okay, we took care of that. Charlene says, your thoughts on Dante Thornton with 4.3 speed and 6'5", Cooper retires. Yeah, look, here's the thing about Thornton. Okay, guys, you got to remember this. I've mentioned it before. The history of fantasy football suggests that a player drafted in that round, unless they are going to be one of those outliers that for the next 5 to 10 years to come is going to be fantasy relevant, unless they're one of those type of players. And what I specifically mean is unless this is the next Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to be drafted in the 4th, 5th round, and to become fantasy relevant in year 1 at a high rate, and of course continue on from year over year. Unless he is one of those kind of players, I think he is someone that, again, is a lottery ticket, but not someone that in my mind is like, oh, I'm going to go assume immediately that he's going to have a great target volume, he's going to be highly implicated for usage, and he's going to be fantasy relevant. I can't jump to that conclusion yet. He is someone I am stashing on my bench if I have the availability, and I am just holding it there until I can see what he is capable of. Drew King sends in a question. Thank you, Drew. Says, Hampton, or do I risk and stay with Christian McCaffrey in a half PPR? It depends. What would be your backup after Christian McCaffrey? That is what I would really like to know in comparison to this circumstance. As soon as you know that, or as soon as you convey that to me and let me know who is your backup, under the assumption that McCaffrey doesn't play Sunday, that would be helpful to make that decision. Because you got to remember, There's going to be 8 games that have already started at 10 a.m. PST on Sunday morning. So you will either have to play a Seahawk, 49er, Titan, Bronco, Lion, again, unless you have somebody on one of these teams, which again, when I look at the board across the way, maybe your backup fill-in for Christian McCaffrey ends up being Justice Hill. At that point, you're just playing Hampton today. But as of right now, unless you have the backup for Christian McCaffrey, you're put in a very precarious position to where you have to, unfortunately, forwardly think about this kind of decision in week 1, which again is a disaster in itself. All right, Brian Colorado's question was as follows. Superflex full PPR, Kyler Stroud, Lawrence, Brees, Achane, Tyrone, Tracy, Brian Robinson, Evans, Neighbors, McMillan, Tyreek Hill, Hunter, Kelsey. What can I offer to upgrade running back? How do you feel about McMillan and Tyden Ferguson rest of the season? McMillan's going to be fine. Tyden Ferguson is a to-be-determined situation. Again, he almost scored 2 touchdowns yesterday if it wasn't for a couple, unfortunate errors, drops, and of course, inaccurate passes from one Dak Prescott. In regards to your team as a whole, Tyron Tracy, Devon Achane, Brees Hall, Brian Robinson, I'm not in love with your running backs because I think Achane is really the only valuable piece here. Brees Hall, Tyron Tracy, again, they have 2 backups behind them that are young and that are going to get touches over the course of the year. So how do we improve, your potential for RB? Well, you have to give it time. Maybe you're trading Brian Robinson to the McCaffrey owner alongside of a wide receiver, and then you're upgrading a running back by taking one off of their team. That's the way that I'm trying to utilize this team. I'm trying to wait for big performances, then ship off players. And I'm trying to make an upgrade there at running back. As to who we're going after is not as relevant as the position of need. Like if we have to go after guys that are of the same caliber as Brees Hall and Tyron Tracy, then it's not worth it. We would want an upgrade. So you're going after players that after week 1 has passed us, had an underwhelming performance. Just in the same way in which A.J. Brown had a 1-point week here. I'm trying to trade for A.J. Brown in a lot of my leagues. That's legitimately what I'm going to be doing. Thank you very much. We move on to a question that came in from Colin Smith, who says Jennings or Tyler Warren. My bad. Oh, okay. If it's Tyler Warren, at that point, I'm just going to play Juwan Jennings there. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Jay Gar says, Tracy or Debo in the flex in a full PPR? I would rather play Tyrone Tracy. Thank you. DJ Trump in the chat says, Flowers or Pearsall week 1? I would rather play Flowers there. Thank you. Kyler or Bo Nix? I'd rather play Bo Nix. Diego says, hey, Andrew. Message is in the chat. All right, Diego. Let me see if I can find him, man. Where art thou question? That's not what I wanted to do. Diego says, hey, Andrew, my wide receivers are Evans, Worthy, Sutton. On my bench, I have Pearsall. In a full PPR, I have Sutton in my flex. Would you start Pearsall over those? No, I wouldn't. I would play those 3 studs that you have, Evans, Worthy, and Sutton. Thank you. Appreciate it, Diego. Michael sends in a question, says, flex Tracy or Jamison Williams? I feel more comfortable playing Tracy there this week. Defense, Jets, Seattle, or Washington? I'd rather play Washington's defense out of the group. Thank you. We took care of that. We took care of Jagar. I'm waiting for Drew King to tell me what his backup is in comparison to McCaffrey and Hampton. Once I get an understanding there, then we can continue on. Until then, Hampy sends in a question. Thank you, Hampy. Says full PPR, start Henderson or Hampton as my RB2. Henderson or Hampton. Full PPR, huh? As of right now, I still have a Hampton as the higher ranked back. Thank you. But again, the pause and the contemplation there kind of gives you an indication as to how close it is, but I'm still going to lean towards Hampton. Thank you. NM Toon says, in a 10-team Superflex, give Jackson and Taylor, get Mahomes, Jefferson, Walker. Thoughts? So you're giving away Lamar Jackson and Jonathan Taylor and getting Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and Kenneth Walker. Okay. I see the value there. So you're basically trading away. Okay. I could justify the trade. I don't mind that. Let me see what the rest of your team looks like. So my running backs are Chase Brown, Hampton. Yeah, okay. We have Lamb and JSN. I have no problem with the trade. Because at that point, okay, so my only question at that point, NM Toon, is how many wide receivers and how many flex spots do we have available? Because if you could start Chase Brown, Walker, Jefferson, Hampton, Lamb, and JSN alongside of Mahomes and whatever your other quarterback is every single week, I'm happy with it. In a full PPR, I think, yeah, you take that deal. Appreciate it. Okay, we've caught up effectively on all those questions. Good to go. I appreciate y'all being patient with me in regards to that. I think we've been here for about nearly, I would say 55 minutes. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel, asking questions. Hopefully I can get to answering some of the broader questions in the live stream chat. Again, if you guys want my all-encompassing rankings and want to get those questions answered immediately, not have to wait for them to be answered, whether it is in one of these live streams today, tomorrow, Sunday morning, etc., all of that, of course, can be accomplished either the Betr sign up, taking advantage of that, and or checking out the Patreon. Thank you very much. Or, of course, just being patient and hopefully, me directly answering your question or, potentially answering it via proxy of somebody else's. Okay, let's see here. Somebody was asking Golden, Egbuka, or Keenan Allen in the flex spot. Gotta play Egbuka this week there, Steven. Got to. Absolutely got to. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? Drew King. Here we go. This is the follow-up he was looking for. It says, up Brian Robinson yesterday. Says, my running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Chase Brown, Kamara. Flex is Hampton, Warren, and I picked up Brian Robinson yesterday. Cool. So, yeah, if I was in your position, Drew King, I would play Chase Brown and Kamara, and I would just pretty much flex McCaffrey to where I can either play him and or Brian Robinson come Sunday afternoon once that declaration is made. So, yeah, Chase Brown, Kamara, flexing McCaffrey. I'm benching Hampton. I'm benching Jalen Warren this week. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I think it makes it a lot easier. Donald Smith says, stepped away, AK. Missed your answer. Herbert or Nix? Yeah, I'd much rather play Bo Nix. Absolutely. Dilo says, thoughts on the spread for tonight's game? Let me see. It depends. When I look at the potential kind of spread in total of these games, I think it's currently -3 in favor of the Chiefs. I think that's normal, right? Chiefs -3. Again, like I've mentioned, 6 of the last 7 matchups? Let me find the stat that I mentioned earlier this week in regards to this game. Here we go. So in regards to Patrick Mahomes this week, 7 of the last 8 games in which the Kansas City Chiefs have played against the Los Angeles Chargers, 7 of the last 8 games have been one-score victories for either of the two teams. So this is going to be a closer scoring game. Dallas says +3.5. Really, from where I'm looking at, it's only +3. So I guess you just have a different current number as to where you're checking it out or where you're using. But a one-score victory, it can be anywhere between 3 to 4 points, right? So that 3.5 number is really solid. It's either a field goal or it's it's 4 points off the 7 because of the field goal made by Cameron Dicker. So as of right now, if I was to potentially, I'm not really someone who plays spreads, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to win this game. Dylan Smith sends in a question. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that. Says, in a 12-team full PPR, I traded Jamar for Tyreek Hill and Drake London. Thoughts? So you basically traded away your first-round pick for a second-round pick and a third-round pick. That's essentially what you did. And I think in terms of value, I am okay with that. I don't have an issue with it. In terms of value on return, it is comparable, especially if you needed the wide receiver depth. All right, Matt in the chat was saying Jalen Warren or Jerome Ford as my RB2. I would suggest you play Jalen Warren there. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Arlen in the chat was saying, in the small chance that Christian McCaffrey isn't playing Sunday, should I play Jamison Williams, Roman Dunze, or Brian Robinson Jr. in my flex this week? I would suggest playing Brian Robinson Jr. there in the event in which Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. Absolutely. It would be Brian Robinson Jr. there. It says, full PPR, do I ever do Rome/JMO over CMC? JMO is a 1 p.m. on Sunday. No. Listen, Brian Robinson would fill in the event in which, let me see my rankings for where I have Rome and Jameson. In a full PPR, it's maybe a little bit different. Where do I have? Okay. So as of right now, in the event in which Christian McCaffrey does play, you play Jamison Williams. In the event in which he doesn't, you play Ryan Robinson. That's my suggestion as it stands. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Alec in the chat was saying in the half PPR, both Tet or Worthy. Tet or Worthy? Oh, gosh. Look, as of right now, in a full PPR, where I have Tetero McMillan as my number 17, I have Worthy as my number 15. So technically, I would play Xavier Worthy in a full PPR ahead of Tetero McMillan this week. I don't feel great about it, but I feel like both of them are going to ball out. If you could find a way to play both, do so, because they are both guys that, again, need to be started. That's how much talent they got and how good their potential matchups are ahead. As for your second question here, Alec, Montgomery, Jalen Warren, Devontae. At that point, I probably end up just playing Devontae Adams and Jalen Warren there. Oh, it's a half PPR question. Hold up. Let me go to my half PPR rankings. In a half PPR, I have Tetero McMillan as my number 15 wide receiver, Xavier Worthy as my number 16. So at that point, it becomes a little bit different to where I actually prefer McMillan. But again, they're back-to-back. Flip a coin or follow your heart. Either way. Somebody was asking Tetero McMillan or Marvin Harrison. At that point, I'm going to absolutely play McMillan. Not too interested in playing Marvin Harrison in comparison. Marvin Harrison in comparison. Look at that. If it rhymes, it's got to be followed, right? There it is. Team. Okay, so we took care of that from Crypto. Thanks, man. Jay Holly 203 sends in a question. Jay Holly, how's it going? Okay, guys, please do me a favor. Just really quickly before I get to Jay Holly's question. Bionic, I see your question. You're spamming it. I have less of a likelihood of answering your question because I see you spamming it. The way that this works is that I don't see your question 6 times and I think to myself, oh, I want to answer it. I see it and I would say, oh, I want to actually ban this guy, right? So that's what that does. I haven't seen you around. Okay, yeah. Listen, brother, just stop the spam. All be forgiven. I see the question. Just no spamming. Please and thank you. Jay Holly 203 says PPR sit 1, Ridley, Flowers, or Adunze. If I'm sitting 1, I'm probably sitting Adunze between the 3 of them. Thank you. Mainly because I kind of just want to know. Sorry, King, I didn't know. Listen, if you have to be told not to spam, then you gotta. There's an online etiquette to typing. Just take it easy. Eventually, I will get to your question. I promise. So yeah, I'm gonna bench Dunze there, Jay Holly. Thank you. JT sends in a question. Says in a 10-team half PPR flex league, I got quarterback Knicks, wide receivers Chase, Hill, Rice, Hunter. Running back got Bucky, Walker, Pollard, Mason, Charbonnet. Tight end is McBride. Thoughts on Pollard or Hunter in the flex? In a half PPR, I'm gonna lean towards playing Pollard there. I think that is the better of the two, considering the half PPR format. Had it been a full PPR, I could justify it. Gerardo in the chat was saying Arizona or Washington's defense. I would rather play Arizona's defense this week. Anonymous was saying, yo, Andrew, see the Bears players on Sleeper right now? Adunze is projected 800 points. Yeah, it's just somebody that probably clicked an extra 0 or maybe an extra 2 zeros at the end of the equation that spits out the projection points. Thank you, JT. Appreciate that. Says, help me win 70% win percentage over the last 3 years, man. I love to hear that. Constantino, what's up, bro? Long time no see, Constantino. Says, bro, DJ Moore or Cook? In a full PPR, I'd rather play DJ Moore there, legitimately. Keenan Allen or Jaden Higgins for the season. I would rather have Jaden Higgins rest of the season. Somebody was asking Purdy, T-Law, or May. I have Trevor Lawrence. T-Law, significantly higher than the other. Well, not significant. Well, actually, hold on. Wait. Actually, depends on McCaffrey's status. For right now, I'm going to lean towards T-Law. If McCaffrey's healthy, I'm just playing Purdy there at that point. But they're very close. Crypto, we took care of your question. Got to play T-Mac there for sure. Let's see here. Let me scroll back up. Angel Montero was saying Bo Nix or Trevor Lawrence in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. I'm still comfortable playing Bo Nix there. Thinking of starting Sutton over Kenneth Walker in a full PPR. I think I'm going to suggest probably doing the same thing, my man. Yeah, I would do the same thing. As it currently stands, looking at my flex rankings, where do I have Sutton? Sutton is 1 spot ahead of Kenneth Walker. Legitimately, 39 in comparison to 40 on my flex list from yesterday's rankings. Appreciate it. All right. Bionic was saying all those names. Bionic. Okay. Bionic. This is the first time I've seen your name, or at least that I've read it and I've recognized it, and now that I see it. Couple of the rules that we have here on the channel, specifically when I live stream. If you ask a question in the live stream chat, don't spam it. I know you've said I accept the apology, no problem. Please also include your scoring format, because that absolutely, without a doubt, makes a difference. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's a half PPR, which again, we can just function in that reality, but I just want to make sure that you know that if you include a scoring format, it is helpful. Thank you. Metcalf or Pearsall? I'd rather play Pearsall there. Roger. Yeah. Patrick 510 says, in a 2-2-1 league, Jacobs, Chuba Hubbard, Tracy, Caleb Johnson, Rico, Eckler, CD, Evans, Sutton, DJ, Judy, Waddle. Am I crazy to trade DJ, Caleb, Eckler for Kamara and Kendre Miller? Okay. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. When you say DJ, who do you mean? Is that DJ Moore? I just want to make sure that DJ is like DJ Moore rather than like DJ like Deontay Johnson or something. You know what I mean? I'm going to assume that's DJ Moore. In the event in which it is, you're saying DJ Moore, Caleb Johnson, and Eckler for Kamara and Kendre Miller. Considering the way that your team currently stands, yeah, I don't mind the trade at all. Now, does it kill your depth? Sure, but in a 2-2-1 league, I think it's worth it. JK sends in a question. Thank you very much, JK. I appreciate that, sir. Says, should I be moving Christian McCaffrey? I've got an offer for Henderson and DK. Yeah, I think you asked this earlier today. I basically was under the impression that it's probably in your best interest to just wait. If you are dead set on, like, just imagine, let's just put it out there. If Christian McCaffrey plays Sunday, then proceeds to play every single game for the remainder of the season and finishes as a top 7 running back, would you regret the decision of trading for Henderson and DK? I would. Therefore, if I was in your position, I would hold. Alrighty, where are we at here? Half PPR flex, Pearsall, Hampton, or Downs? That's a very interesting question. In a half PPR, I don't love the play of Hampton this week, guys. I have learned my lesson for playing running backs against that defense. I will say, though, currently on a half PPR, I have Hampton 1 spot ahead of Pearsall. Flip the coin, go with your gut, but I have Hampton 1 spot ahead. Thank you. Nunya Business says, should I trade Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet? No. I think the backfield of the 49ers is still more effectively valuable. Joby, or Job with an E at the end. Either way. Starter said Worthy or Tet McMillan in the flex full PPR. I have Worthy ahead of him in a full PPR. I have McMillan ahead in a half PPR. Just depends. Can I rank Kenneth Walker, Hampton, and what is that, Marvin Harrison Jr.? Yeah, is it a full PPR? What's your rank? What's your format, brother? Gotta let me know what your format is, Maddie. Once I know that, I'll be able to go ahead and help you out. Thank you. All right, Bionic, let's see what you had here. Full PPR, pick 3 between the available. I would play Waddle. I would play Henderson. And I would probably play Jameson Williams as well. Cyanide says full PPR, David Montgomery or Igbuka. Got to play Igbuka there. Got to. Absolutely. Thank you, Angel. I appreciate the kind words. Hampton or Swift? I would absolutely play Swift this week and a half PPR. Alrighty. Caught up on a lot of those. Maddie says full PPR. Great. So if it's K9, Hampton, or Marvin Harrison, if I have to rank them, it goes K9 1, Marvin 2, Hampton 3. Thank you. No problem. You're good. You're good to go, guys. Okay. Hey, we're almost there. Another game of football is just about to be underway in less than an hour. So again, am I out of focus? No, I'm not out of focus. Okay. I just have a really shiny nose because it's hot in this room. Okay. Really quickly. Couple reminders. First and foremost, thank you guys for joining us on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Again, this is a very impromptu live stream. This is not a consistent, kind of circumstance from the channel. Usually on Fridays we have hidden gems, but it's week 1. So we're not really going to be proclaiming any crazy hidden gems for the given week. Starting week 2, we will have the hidden gems and the must start plays and all that kind of jazz on Fridays. Otherwise, you know the schedule. Mondays waiver wire, Tuesdays running back, Wednesday wide receivers, quarterbacks on Thursdays and Friday. Quarterbacks and tight ends on Thursday, Friday hidden gems. Saturday live stream will be conducted tomorrow at around 1 p.m. PST, and then of course Sunday morning will also be live streaming with up-to-date rankings on screen. So around me, for those of you who are not familiar with the channel, I'll have my updated top 36 running backs, wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, tight ends, and additionally my top 12 kickers and defenses available on stream. If you want all-encompassing rankings, which includes full PPR, half PPR, flex rankings, all that kind of jazz, beyond the top 36 of the running back wide receiver, more like top 50, top 80, top 30, top 32 quarterbacks, all that kind of jazz. If you want all those rankings, you can check out Betr today. Again, like I've mentioned all season long, I'll be partnering with them not only to provide upcoming plays, but also those rankings for every single Sunday morning sent from my email directly to yours. So if you want to take advantage of that opportunity, there's a link down in the description to get those rankings every single Sunday morning from weeks 1 through 18 of the season to help you, of course, get one step closer to capturing a 2025 fantasy football championship. Now, while on the topic of this subject, what I want to go ahead and do is, for those of you who are asking that I wasn't able to get to earlier, I do have a play that I'm comfortable with sharing tonight. Just want to log into my account here via Betr, and I'll go ahead and share that with you guys right now. So I'm going to head on over to the site. The ball is going to fly in the direction. Quickly, like I mentioned earlier, and I will just go over it just once again really quickly. The play was consisting of more than 4.5 receptions for Travis Kelce. Also going, and that's primarily because he's accomplished this, I mean, in a very high likelihood, as he's done this in 10 of the last 13 games. It was additionally more than 4.5 receptions for Ladd McConkey. He's accomplished that in 8 of his last 8 games. So that would be the second potential circumstance. Not Herbert. Ladd McConkey, you go over here. You go more than 4.5. 8 of the last 8, more than 4.5 receptions. And then the final player was Xavier Worthy, in which he's been able to go more than 3.5 receptions in 10 of the last 10 games he has played. So if we're just looking off of that potential, I think there's a lot of upside in regards to those 3. Now, for some reason, my computer doesn't let me put in these plays, but specifically with that play, I'm just going to do it on my phone real quick. It's also relatively easy to do it there. So let me just, I got to put it in just so I have it ready to go. I do have a couple other plays that I'll be sharing tomorrow and, of course, Friday. So for those of you who want to swing on by, or if you're not able to make it to the live stream, maybe you can watch the replay afterward to get those shared with you. Of course, I'm trying to, of course, share as many plays as possible to get us in the right direction in regards to the fantasy football season. Unfortunately, yesterday, A.J. Brown decided to go ahead and kill us. But hey, that happens. It's just, that's the nature of the beast as we continue on over the course of the season. Okay, so continuing here, let's go ahead, put this play together. What in the heck is that? I'm actually surprised. What is going on with this play? Okay, just really quickly, I tried to do it on the phone. There is no multiplier increase when you add. Is that an actual thing? I'm testing this. Okay, I'll figure this out in a moment, but it feels like what I had. Interesting. Let me test it this way. It feels like the multiplier does not move. So it's at 1. Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Because it's okay. So that Xavier Worthy number is such a guarantee that it's not even worth putting in as an entry. So it's pretty much just the play is just pretty much Travis Kelce, Ladd McConkey. That's all it is. Because the number, quite frankly, just doesn't move if you have if you add that Xavier Worthy to it. It just doesn't move at that current number, at that current circumstance. Which is very interesting to me. I would have thought it would have moved ever so slightly, even with the 3.5 number, but it doesn't even move. It's less than 1%, I guess, which is very interesting. Okay, no problem. Do that. Boom. Okay. And that play has been made. Continuing on. Let me get back to the live chat answering questions here. Appreciate y'all for being patient with me in that regard. Let's see here. We took care of that question. We had a question that came in from Christopher, who says, in a full PPR, do I start Njoku, Henderson, or Myers? I am going to suggest that you play Njoku this week. Thank you. Especially in a full PPR format. Absolutely playing Njoku. Njoku's got so much value this week. I've got him ranked ahead of a lot of other prospects within the given week. Thank you. All right, we have Anthony Marr who sends in a question. Anthony, I hope you're doing well. I appreciate the super. Says, in my super flex format, half PPR, 14-team league, we have Burrow, Tua, and Darnold. Cook, K9, Ford, Mixon, Ollie Gordon, Justin Jefferson, McMillan, Pearsall, Hollywood, Mooney, Palmer, Jonnu, Theo Johnson. Titans are trash. I mean, I think Jonnu Smith will suffice. Okay? And Theo Johnson's going to have to score touchdowns in the events in which he does play. So, as of right now, of the available options, I mean, just looking at your team as a whole, I'm assuming what you want is help. I mean, if you want a better tight end, just trade Sam Darnold. That's it. That's how you get a better tight end. You take Sam Darnold in a 14-team league where you have a super flex format, and you trade him for one of the top-tier tight ends. Go get George Kittle for a team that maybe doesn't have their third quarterback, but rather would have that third quarterback than the tight end help. I guess that's how you'd have to approach it. Otherwise, I'm not trading anything else. You don't have enough depth to be able to make moves like that unless you're making 2-for-2s. If anything, you might want to just wait until Jonnu has a solid performance, or maybe just hit the waiver wire after this week and see if you can find some semblance of value there available. Edward Spray says, hey, Andrew, in a half PPR, Golden or Debo? I'd rather play Golden there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hassan sends in a follow-up question. Hassan says, in a 10-team full PPR, double flex league, my quarterback is Jalen Hurts, my wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams. I have Bucky Irving and Tony Pollard as my running backs. Do I flex? My flexes are Pearsall and Travis Hunter. Okay, sounds good. You're in a good spot there, Hassan. Well done, brother. Good-looking team. Tyler A in this chat was saying, thoughts on Travis Hunter's value in leagues where you get IDP points, still sits in wide receiver slot. Yeah, I mean, the question is, because I don't personally play in an IDP league, so I don't really have a understanding as to the value that he may have in comparison. So my only question is, how many points do you get for a tackle? That's it. Because I don't know if he's going to be making interceptions on a consistent enough basis to be of value. Thank you. Brett Webster sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, flex Harvey or Odunze? Thanks, brother. Ooh, wow. I'm going to probably lean towards, I'm going to play Harvey there. Let's play Harvey. Thank you. Jalen Warren or Jameson. What is that? Co-pilot? No, get out of here. Hey, Andrew, in a full PPR. Okay, we took care of that. Jalen Warren or Jameson Williams. I'm going to lean towards Jalen Warren there. I think Jameson Williams, again, it takes one singular pass. He's like George Pickens. It takes one singular pass to make him incredibly fantasy relevant. That's all it takes. But in the case in which you cannot find that value, I think if you're not trying to risk it, you want more consistency, you want more touches. I'm leaning towards playing Jalen Warren there, Arlen. Thanks, man. Oh, no, my tight end is Brock Bowers, says Hassan. Jeez Louise, Hassan. That is a ridiculous team. I mean, again, I don't know what you want me to tell you about the team except for it's damn good and you might end up winning the season. Like, that's just it. You stay healthy, you're going to win. DK or Zay Flowers says Landon. Landon, I'm going to suggest you play Flowers there this week. Again, Tre'Davious White is dealing with an injury. Additionally, the other injury report that I was able to confirm earlier today from the Buffalo Bills. So Tyler Bass is out, guys. If you have Tyler Bass, please replace him. Dwayne Carter's out, and Tre'Davious White is doubtful. Benford was dealing with an injury. He's off the report as of this week. But in terms of the coverage, I would assume that Benford is most likely going to be matched up with guys like Rashad Bateman and or DeAndre Hopkins, while Flowers is going to play a vast majority of his usage from the slot position or opposite of Benford, to where he is going to get a little bit more upside of value there in comparison to a DK Metcalf. We will see a lot of Sauce Gardner there on Sunday. Brees, Ridley, or Myers in a PPR. Honestly, considering Christian Gonzalez is out, I am very much considering the Jacoby Myers play there. Very much so. My YouTube chat just crashed. Let me go ahead and reload the page real quick. Give me a moment, guys, to do that. In the meanwhile, if you guys haven't yet already, do me a favor and click the like button down below. It is greatly appreciated if you guys could do that. Helps continue to grow the channel as we are getting one step closer to achieving the goal of 100K subscribers. Again, can't wait for it. I'll have more information next week about some potential giveaways as we get closer to that. You know, let's see. What is that? Okay, we're good to go. Cool. Yeah, we're at 95K. We're getting ever so close. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. We took care of that question. The follow-up from Tyler A in the chat was for Travis Hunter, points, 1 point per tackle, 2 points per pass defended, 4 points for interceptions. Oh, man, look, here's the thing. We don't know how much. Okay, here's the thing. I already probably have I already have Travis Hunter so highly ranked. Like, I have him ranked as my number 28 wide receiver this week. If you play in an IDP league where he's going to get a point per pass defended, and let's say he has one pass defense and one, like, let's say he has 2 tackles and 1 pass defense, that's an additional 4 points, right? At that point, the projection point in which I have him in a full PPR would jump him into the top 24 conversation, to where I'm playing him above Emeka Egbuka. I'm playing him maybe even above Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. Like, that's where he gets to in an IDP factor. All right. We had a question that came from AP. Thank you very much. It says Warren or Pollard in a half PPR? If that's Jalen Warren, just to confirm, I would still rather play Pollard as it currently stands in a half PPR in the absence of Tyjae Spears, with the offensive coordinator and, of course, the head coach, Brian Callahan, of this Tennessee Titans team did last season was give Pollard the ball about 24 to 26 times per game in the absence of Tyjae Spears. We have no Tyjae Spears available this week. Therefore, Pollard is going to touch the ball 20-some times. If he at least just averages, 4 yards per rush and 6 yards per reception, he's going to be in line for a pretty good week, to say the very least. And, of course, maybe a garbage time touchdown. Who knows? Hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe they come out and they beat the brakes off the Denver Broncos. No, that's not happening. But you never know. Again, any given Sunday, right? All right, let's see here. Crazy Presents sends in a question. Says, what's up, Andrew? How's it going, Crazy? Hope you're doing well. Says, Hampton or Egbuka in a half PPR? Let me see where I have them ranked. I believe I may have Egbuka ranked higher. Let me just check this. Yep, I do have Emeka Egbuka ranked higher in a half PPR, legitimately. Pierre sends in a question, says standard. Need Pacheco, Hampton, or Ollie Gordon? Thanks, man. Of the available, in a standard scoring league, 0 points per reception. I'm probably leaning towards playing Hampton 1, Pacheco 2, Ollie Gordon 3. Thank you. Pacheco or DK in a full PPR? You know what? Let's see. Let me just... where do I have Pacheco? Pacheco sits there, and DK Metcalf is ahead of him. Thank you. All righty. Good to go. Appreciate it, Pierre. Appreciate it, Crazy. All right. Again, so really quickly, I want to reiterate this just so we're all on the same page, because I do see a couple questions in regards to Christian McCaffrey from earlier today. I'm going to head on over back to Twitter or X for those of you who have accounts there. Just really quickly, if you want to hear more about, that's not where I wanted to go, but Twitter, Vic Tafer, okay? This is an account that is a senior writer for The Athletic, and he covers the 49ers, okay? This is an interview after today's practice in which Christian McCaffrey did not participate, in which he was interviewed. You can go listen to him talk, potentially even give Vic a follow there. I don't even follow him yet, so I'll go ahead and do that just to add it to the list of potential sources over the course of the season. Besides him, of course, we also have Jeff Mueller here, in which he had a couple videos in regards to McCaffrey moving at practice. Of course, Jeff Mueller, doctor of physical therapy, FF injury analyst, all this kind of stuff. He potentially breaks down film. There's a couple pieces of Christian McCaffrey working out in practice, about a minute 28 here of him running in practice today, right? These are good signs. So if you guys want to check these out, go to their page. I'm going to go ahead and shoot a follow over there to Jeff as well, just to go ahead and continue to have these kind of sources over the course of the year as we keep tabs on Christian McCaffrey and his status going into this upcoming season. So again, a lot of those sources there on Twitter, very valuable. If you guys don't follow them, I just went out, found them earlier today. Obviously I was in search of some potential Christian McCaffrey news. Daisy was saying, I sent 3 or 4 messages above. Daisy, if you could do me a favor, I'm scrolling up and let me actually control F function Daisy. Let's see if I could find it, Daisy. Daisy, I don't see your messages. Because my YouTube crashed moments ago and I had to reopen it, anything that was like typed in before the crash kind of got wiped out. So if you could do me a favor and retype it in the chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Also include scoring format once you ask that. Thank you. Fernando Perez, excuse me. I got a little bit dyslexic there. Fernando, thank you very much, sir. It says PPR, Pearsall or Hampton? I do have Pearsall ahead of Hampton in a full PPR. Nathan Salazar sends in a question. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Full PPR, choose one. Swift, Pacheco, Garrett Wilson, or Shakir. How high are we on DJ Moore this year? Swift with benefits to Ben Johnson here. Yeah, I think Swift is the play out of the group for this week in a full PPR. I'm relatively high on DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is going to function out as someone that can be very viable. In a half PPR, we're hoping for about 12 points per game. For a full PPR, maybe 14. That's what we're hoping for. That's the kind of guy that we're hoping he can become. He's just got to, he's got to stay healthy. That's it. He's going to get usage. He's one of the better receivers on that team. It is pretty much going to be the Swift, DJ Moore, Adunze Loveland show sooner rather than later. Okay, we took care of Fernando. We took care of Nathan Salazar. Thank you again for that. Let's see here. We need to check out if Daisy wants to type that question in. Once they do, that'd be very helpful, and we'll be good to go. Jamil Green in the chat says, "What's up, Andrew? Can you help me out with my fantasy? You helped me win my fantasy league last year. Congratulations. Glad to see that. Of course, that came to fruition. PPR DJ Moore or Zay Flowers or Emeka Egbuka. Starting at the flex. As it currently stands, I have it ranked in the following order: DJ Moore 1, Emeka Egbuka 2, Zay Flowers 3 for this week. Thanks, man. Anakin Women. Anakin, what's up? Long time no see. Says, welcome back. Hey, listen, welcome back to you. Listen, I've been around. When you say welcome back, I've been live streaming. I live streamed a little bit last week. So, I haven't been gone for too long. Obviously, I've been putting out, at least one piece of content every day for the last month here, plus. But let's see what you got here in terms of your question. How's the team looking? It says I have Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Will Shipley, A.J. Brown, Sutton, Jamison Williams, Pearsall, Downs, Kraft, Aubrey, and the Minnesota Vikings defense. I mean, look, as a whole, I think RB2 is really the biggest question for this team. I'm not I'm not worried about A.J. Brown. I'm not worried about the tight ends you have. I'm not worried about quarterback, kicker, defense. It's RB2. And whether that's going to be David Montgomery or Aaron Jones, time will tell. I'm hoping that both of them are going to be incredibly relevant for you, but luckily you do have Aaron Jones and Mason, so regardless of which way that shakes out, you have the piece there. Going into this week, yeah, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones is definitely a question that I've kind of mulled over the last couple of hours or so here, as I do think that there's a high likelihood that David Montgomery just returns to reprising his normal role and averaging over 12 points per game, which if he can, of course, is going to require touchdown upside, but that's something that really hasn't been shy from this offense in the past, as he has been one of the primary backs that, of course, dominate in the red zone in this National Football League year over year. But yeah, that's my initial thought. RB2 is really going to be the determining factor as to whether you pick up wins over the course of the year. Of course, after A.J. Brown comes to his senses, and actually more like once Nick Sirianni, the offensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts, once they come to their senses, I think we'll be in a better position. I want to show you guys something really quickly. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Once I do, look at this, okay? Just look at this real quick. So I'm going to travel on over to Next Gen Stats. Okay, look at the passing chart from Jalen Hurts last night, okay? This is Jalen Hurts' passing chart from last night, okay? These are his completions last night. The guy had literally, okay, okay, look at my mouse. You see where this is? I'm going to count that as a 10-yard completion. He had one completion over 10 yards last night. Jalen Hurts somehow turned into a check down king. Now, I understand the Dallas Cowboys played a lot of zone coverage last night, but my goodness, what is this? What is this? This is Dallas Goedert, and this is Devontae Smith, and this is Saquon Barkley range. Why is nothing down here? I understand they're playing a lot of zone coverage, and it does make it difficult, but goodness gracious. I mean, so just, Again, I think they'll get back to their senses soon enough here. Alrighty, let's see here. Patrick Morris sends in a question. Says, Ricky Pearsall or Keenan Allen? Much rather play Ricky Pearsall. Thank you, man. Okay, where's Daisy? Daisy says, in a half PPR, 2 flex. Henderson, Warren, Keon Coleman, Jawan Jennings. Cool. I'm going to play both of those running backs. Because of the half PPR format, I think it does favor running back. And additionally, I really do like both of those plays this week. I'll take Jalen Warren and I'll take Travion Henderson as your 2 plays there, Daisy. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had Gary SY, who says in a PPR, we have Kyler, Hampton, Henderson, J-Jets, A.J. Brown, Kittle, Egbuka, Ollie Gordon, Ramondre Stevenson, Charbonnet, Rice, Thornton, and Godwin. Thoughts? As soon as Rashee Rice comes back, your team is going to be a legitimate problem, because by the time we get to week 7, I think at that point, Hampton, Henderson are going to be in full stride, to where really I think the biggest weakness of your team is going to be Kyler. Legitimately. That's how strong your team is going to be across the board. To which maybe at that point we could look to maybe pick up another alternative option that's going to have better matchups over the course of that time. But for right now, when Kyler's your biggest weakness, I think you're in a pretty good spot across the board here. Well done. Emeka Egbuka or Dobbins in the flex. Got to play Egbuka this week, guys. Come on. Let's get with the times. We got to fire him up. Got to fire him up. Thank you. All right, let me close all these tabs up there. Yeah, I had a lot of tabs open. I'm glad I was able to share that with you guys. Okay, we took care of Gary, but yeah, pretty good looking team across the board there. A lot of rookie reliance, obviously, with Hampton, Henderson, and Egbuka, but I think, again, in due time, they will be really solid plays for you. Okay, so we took care of that. Good to go. Ridley or Pearsall this Sunday? Florent, I'd rather play Pearsall. Thank you. Again, you guys know how high I am on Pearsall, and especially if Christian McCaffrey is going to be missing in any sort of capacity or going to be limited in any sort of capacity, that just leads to more passing attempts down the field. Elijah Moore says, Andrew, how would you order them? Hampton, Connor, McCaffrey, Golden? I don't really want to speculate regarding this. As of right now, until I get further confirmation, it's McCaffrey and Connor are the 1-2 combo. That's just how it's going to function. I cannot objectively say whether he's going to play or not. So until then, I'm just going to kind of lead to where my rankings currently sit, where if McCaffrey plays, he starts, and Connor's the number 2 clear and away. Brees or Ricky? In a PPR, I'd probably just go with Ricky there. Herbert or Purdy? Really solid question. I could understand the idea of going Herbert there, but I don't love the matchup as much as I do like Purdy against that defense for Seattle. Would you trade Worthy for Swift? It depends on how bad of a running back situation I'm dealing with. Tua or Goff? I'd rather play Goff there. Much rather play Goff there. Christopher Green says, what's up, Andrew? In a half PPR, should I flex Egbuka, Pearsall, Pollard, or Debo? I probably end up just going Pollard there. Pollard, Egbuka, Pearsall, Debo. That's the order. Thanks, man. Nathan Salazar says, who should be my RB 1, 2, 3, 4 in this order? Chase Brown, Walker, Pacheco, Swift. The order in which I would construct it would be Brown, Walker, Swift, Pacheco. Thank you, man. All righty. Let's see here really quickly. I just want to check something out. Again, there's about 288 of you in the live stream. If you guys can do me a favor, click the like button down below. That would be incredibly appreciated. If that number could sit above 200, again, it'll continue to help support the channel and continue to help the algorithm push the channel, above and beyond. Thank you, guys. Worthy or Myers? Got to play Worthy. Absolutely got to play Worthy. Herbert or Caleb? Got to play Caleb. Wilson or Pacheco? If it's a half PPR, I'm playing Pacheco. If it's a standard, I'm playing Pacheco. If it's a full PPR, at that point, I would go with Garrett Wilson. But I'd still consider playing Pacheco. Golden or Pearsall? I'd rather play Pearsall. Defensive rankings? If you want defensive rankings, you can go ahead and ask me, hey, do I play this or this? But otherwise, I'm not going to go down the full list. If you want to see the full list, you can check out the Patreon. Again, like I've mentioned before, if you join the 2025 Fantasy Football Champion tier, you'll get all-encompassing rankings every Thursday and Sunday morning updated. In a half PPR, full PPR, includes flex, defense, kicker, all that kind of jazz. Additionally, you'll get the Discord community server access that is exclusive to Patreon members. And then, of course, you can ask me any and all questions in regards to trades, waiver wire pickups, starter sits, all that kind of jazz over the course of that circumstance. So again, if you guys are interested, check that out. Otherwise, you can wait for the Sunday morning rankings, or you can just wait for, the upcoming live stream on Sunday, in which those top 12 defenses will be available on screen. Outside of that, you could, again, check out Betr, use code Andrew, make that first time deposit, and you'll be good to go. I really don't want to re-ask my question, but I want to. Yeah, re-ask it. You're good. I didn't see your name there, Ramen God, earlier. I see your question now. Let me scroll up. Ramen God says, I sold Travion Henderson, JSN Pickens for Genty. Settings are wide receiver touchdowns equal 13.5 points. Quarterback touchdowns are 10. Running back touchdowns are 9. Lineup is Josh Allen, Hampton, Genty, Ladd, Collins, Tyler Warren, Pearsall, Nix in a super flex format. I don't get the scoring format. I truly don't understand it. So you basically traded away effectively like in a super flex league. I guess it just depends. Like, would I have rather kept what you had? I'm okay with it. Considering how much of a value point touchdowns are, I'm okay with it. But again, I've never played in a league like that. I don't know what the fantasy point contributions look like. So it's kind of tough to tell. Spencer P sends in a question. Says Egbuka or Marvin Harrison Jr. I think I have them back-to-back ranked. Let me just check. And you also had a Goff or Caleb Williams question. I have Caleb Williams starting there. Let me check where I have Marvin compared to Egbuka. Yeah, Marvin is right ahead of Egbuka. One spot ahead. That's the way I'll push it. So I'd suggest playing Marvin. But if you want to play Egbuka, again, it's a flip of the coin. The difference between their fantasy point projections that I have is 0.2. It's legitimately like a non-factor. Barza Gaming sends in a question. It says, offered Drake London for Trey McBride and DK Metcalf in a full PPR. I have Jamar Chase and Neighbors as my wide receiver 1 and 2. And I have Njoku on the bench. Should I take it? You got offered London for McBride and DK. I'm not even joking. I think I'd rather keep what you have. Because the thing is, I'm not trying to effectively sell McBride. I want to sell Njoku off of this team. I don't want to have to start Njoku. Because the thing is, like, okay, he's going to be great with Flacco. But how long is that going to last? Until the backups come in. To which then Njoku's value gets a little bit less effective. So at this point, if I'm in your position, I probably hold and I sell Njoku to try to go get a wide receiver. Maybe you take Njoku and DK and try to make a move, you know? Because the way that I see it, like Drake London in comparison to McBride, okay, let's just put them head-to-head, one-on-one with one another based on their 2024 stats, okay? Because that's the most relevant information that we have, you know, effectively available to us. Drake London scored 280 fantasy points, okay? Trey McBride scored 250. So you get a little bit of a discount there with the potential of both these players improving this year, but you have DK Metcalf as potential effective depth to be able to follow Chase and Neighbors. Now, if you tell me, Andrew, I also have Ridley on my bench. I also have Golden on my bench. Okay, that makes it different to where like you're so stacked, you can make this trade blind. But there's a conversation to be had to where I might want to keep that extra wide receiver just in case. Chiefs, Jaguars, Bengals, or Lions defense? Of the available that you mentioned, legitimately, I have the Bengals ranked the highest. Bengals would be my suggestion there, Andy. Garrett Wilson or Pacheco? Let me check how I have it ranked. I have Garrett Wilson ahead of Pacheco this week. Thank you. In a full PPR. In a half, it's different. Thank you, thank you. All right, Marvin Mims or Jordan Mason? I'd rather play Mims in a full PPR. Appreciate it. Okay, let me scroll back up here. We had a couple questions that came in. Brian Colorado sends in a question. Says in a Superflex PPR, pick 3: Neighbors, Evans, Tyreek, Hunter, McMillan, and Tillman. Yeah, I think it's simple. You should play Neighbors, Evans, and Tyreek Hill. Thank you. Tomasi says Hunter or Ertz in a full PPR rest of season. Hunter, like as in Travis Hunter? I'd rather have Travis Hunter. Tight end is Njoku. I need a backup. Is there another tight end that has the last name Hunter that I'm completely, like, my brain is not functioning? Hunter Henry. Ah, that's what it is. Hunter Henry. I would rather have rest of season. What was my rest of season ranking? I'd have Hunter Henry rest of season. That's what I would prefer. Thanks, man. Gabriel, appreciate the kind words, man. Wan'Dale Robinson or Calvin Austin in the flex? Wan'Dale Robinson, thank you. Again, I mentioned it. Okay, let me just go ahead. For those of you, Alfredo Figueroa says, read my messages, Andrew. Okay, where are you, Alfredo? Andrew, you keep passing me. I apologize, Alfredo. Let me go back up, man. I'm sorry about that, Alfredo. Alfredo Figueroa says, in a 2 flex spots, okay, full PPR, Ridley, Tillman, Bigsby, Dobbs, Najee Harris, and Adam Thielen. Okay, 2 flex spots, Ridley, Tillman. Of the available options you have, I'm playing Ridley and I'm playing Tillman. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, brother. Okay, what I was trying to reference to, and I will go ahead and reference to now that I have the availability of this, for those of you who can potentially play the likes of someone, not play, but if you're looking at the potential of a Wan'Dale Robinson, I want you to understand the value that Wan'Dale Robinson has based on the history of success for receivers that have had 140 targets within a given year. Over the course of 2019 to 2024, of all the wide receivers who have had 140 targets in a singular season, the following year, unless they got injured or were suspended and missed missed 4 or more games, all of the wide receivers over the course of 2019 and 2024 all had 110 or more targets. Wan'Dale Robinson is a part of that number from last season, along with Chase, Neighbors, London, Jefferson, Wilson, Lamb, Judy, Amon-Ra, Adams, Moore. Wan'Dale Robinson is a member of that group of receivers last year who had 140 targets. So at a base minimum, 110 targets should be in line for him this season, which on average obviously is significantly less than last year, but still going to be a value. Alrighty, let's see here. Daisy says, half PPR, Harvey, Pacheco, or Myers. I would rather play Harvey out of the group. Thank you. David Dooley says, start Kelsey or ETN. Much rather start Kelsey. Thank you, brother. Andy says, Cup, Harrison Jr. or Ladd? Gotta play Ladd. It's not even close. Ladd McConkey is him. Come on. Hollywood, Brown, or Mims? Gotta play Mims there. Worthy or JSN? Depends on format. Let me see where I have them ranked accordingly. In a in a full PPR, I have Worthy. In a half PPR, I have Worthy. So never mind. It doesn't matter. I'm playing Worthy. Thanks, man. Let's see here. Hampton or DJ Moore in a PPR? I'd rather play DJ Moore there, user. Where are we at here? Pearsall, J-Mo, or Golden in the flex PPR? I'm playing Pearsall there. Especially with all the news in San Francisco. I think it just continues to solidify that position. All right, guys. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to answer questions for another 7 minutes. At 4:45, I'm going to call it here so I can go and I can set myself up on the couch, get ready for this for this game potentially, get everything ready to go. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. Again, I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. PST answering questions. So if you want to swing back around tomorrow, I'll be answering questions. Again, like I mentioned, and I'll go over this at the end of the stream. There's a lot of ways to get my rankings besides the Sunday morning live stream, which I'll also be back starting at 7 a.m. PST Sunday morning. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Should I play Pacheco or Eckler as my RB2? I would prefer to play Pacheco. Half PPR, DK, Hunter, or ETN? I would like to play Travis Hunter this week there. James Cook or Tedoroa McMillan? I would rather play Tedoroa McMillan. Tracy, Walker, or Swift? I'd rather... The order at which I would go about that, Lee, is Walker, Swift, Tracy. Kamara or Hampton? PPR. Kamara. Caleb Johnson or Charbonnet? I'd rather start Charbonnet this week. Legitimately. Papa Bless says pick one. Pacheco, Travion Henderson, or Harvey full PPR? Give me Travion Henderson in a full PPR. Thank you. Sutton or Worthy? Play Worthy. Betr isn't available in my area. Just got to subscribe to your Patreon. That would be the only other way to get the all-encompassing rankings correct. Unless, I mean, you can just watch the videos, you can watch the live streams, you can get all these free content that I'm answering questions with, or you can send in super chats or whatever the heck. But if you want the additional content besides what is provided here on the channel and the live streams, then yes, the Patreon would be the other alternative, in which I've mentioned you get all the potential, activations of the Discord server, asking me unlimited questions, and of course the rankings every Thursday and Sunday. Thank you very much. Again, links are down in the description. Brian Messenger, what's up, man? Long time no see. Says Purdy or May in a 6-point per passing touchdown with Christian McCaffrey news. I think I'm still going to lean towards Purdy there, but we'll see what the news looks like by the time we get to Sunday. Pollard or Pacheco? I'd rather play Pollard. Packers or Bengals? That's a good question. Let's see where I have the Packers defense this week. Still have the Bengals ahead of them. You got to remember, Joe Flacco's an interception machine, guys. Keenan Allen or ETN? ETN. Pearsall, Walker, or Wilson? Gotta play Walker. There's no way we're drafting Kenneth Walker where we do and bench him week 1. There's no shot. There's no shot. We're not doing that, guys. Come on. Okay, I think I've pretty much answered the vast majority. Pearsall or RJ? I'd rather play Pearsall there, man. Thanks. Awakened Panda says J-Mo or Golden in a PPR? I'd rather play Golden. Yep. Alfredo, no problem, man. All right. Pollard or Pacheco, full PPR. Still going to play Pollard there, J-Card 429. Thank you very much, sir. Baker Mayfield or Kyler, got to play Baker, especially against Atlanta. It's far too advantageous of a matchup to pass up on, guys. Absolutely far too advantageous. Okay, my YouTube chat just crashed again. I'm going to reload it here, but I think that's pretty much where we're going to call it in terms of potentially answering some questions here. Just want to, with the final couple minutes here, remind you guys, again, if you guys haven't checked out Betr, not only will you get a free $10 when you sign up, automatically, as soon as you use, code Andrew and sign up, you get a free $10. Again, you have to make sure you're eligible within these given states. Again, if you're not eligible, there are alternative ways to get my rankings and all that kind of stuff. But once you've signed up using code Andrew, once you've made that first time deposit minimum of 10 and then made a first time play minimum of 1 within the first, you have to utilize one of your $10 within the deposit, right? The free $10 that you get won't get you these rankings. So you got to use one of these deposited 10. That's why I specifically mentioned that over here. Once that is settled, again, all that information is down in the description. You will get rankings this upcoming Sunday morning and every Sunday morning for the remainder of the season. Half PPR, full PPR, all encompassing. Check your spam folder this upcoming Sunday. Thank you very much. Outside of that, again, if you sign up today and you sign up now prior to the game starting, you can take advantage of the free play of Patrick Mahomes. The free pick is available there, in which you can pick more on 0.5 passing yards. I do want to answer a couple more questions here because I do see a lot more supers that were just sent in. As soon as I know why my YouTube crashed, is because you guys sent those in at a incredibly fast rate back to back to back. Do appreciate you guys sending those in. We begin with James Newton, who says, props for Chiefs and Chargers. Yeah, Travis Kelce more than 4.5 receptions. What's his name? Ladd McConkey more than 4.5 receptions. And Xavier Worthy more than 3.5 receptions. Pretty good numbers there. Thank you very much. Gabe sends in a question, says Pacheco tonight or play Tracy? I would rather play Tracy. Thank you. Oskino sends in a question, says Worthy, Henderson, Pollard, pick 2. I would play Worthy and I would play Pollard. Thank you. Appreciate it, Oskino. Long time no see. I hope you're doing well, sir. All right, guys. Let's see if I can get back to the live chat. Answer a couple more questions here. Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield this weekend. Rather play Baker. Tracy or Odunze? Rather play Tracy. Enjoy the game. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Constantino. Start Keenan Allen or Jameson Williams? Absolutely, without a doubt, playing J-Mo. J-Mo. Luis Perez says, I like Tillman this week. Am I crazy? Nope, you're not crazy. Hold him on roster. I'm probably going to be mentioning him on Monday's waiver wire episode. Chico410 says, should I drop Downs and Kirk for Thornton? I don't mind moving Kirk to my IR position because he's out. But if not, then I would just drop him for Thornton. Not moving Downs, though. Downs is a great play. T-Law or Fields? T-Law. Thank you. Again, I appreciate y'all. That's where I'm going to call it. I'm going to cue the double helix, the one and only double helix, of course. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. Enjoy tonight's game. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more exciting than last night. But until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.